I'm back to make you a video that is uninterrupted by clipping my fingernails. I realized the last video that I put up, I'm actually uploading it right now and titling it and such. I realized the last video that I uploaded where I was clipping my fingernails was incredibly distracting, where I had the lantern that the lav mic was on was terrible audio quality. But like I said in that last video, it's important for me to upload something, to just get it done and get it out. And even then, even when I just said that, like not caring, throwing all of my shits into the wind. Don't throw your shit into the wind. If you throw it into the wind, it will come back and get you. Throw it with the wind. Throw it in the same direction as the wind, away from you, preferably, and away from those that you care about, and toward those that you loathe, that you are maybe enemies with. Anyway, this is the Culture Jack Podcast YouTube channel. Welcome to it. And this video is just for this channel. This video is not for TikTok. This video is not for Instagram or Facebook or anywhere else, but for you here. And so thank you for joining me here. And I was thinking, oh, that other video that's uploading now. And so now you know when I'm recording this. I'm recording this on Monday, but that video is coming out on Monday. It was supposed to come out on Friday. And on Friday, I had predicted that the Super Mario Brothers movie was going to do incredible numbers, way better than anyone anticipated. I think the anticipation for that movie was like 160 million opening weekend. So a 5-day opening starting on Wednesday. I had predicted, I didn't put a number behind it, god damn it, but I had predicted that it would smash the expectations. Smash Brothers. We're speaking of, we're going to be getting a Smash Brothers movie now that this movie's done so well. Mario, Zelda's going to hit, Metroid's going to hit, we're going to get a Yoshi movie of some kind. Please, God, let Sam Raimi direct and make it a horror movie. And at some point, all these assholes are going to get together. They're going to make us a Smash Brothers movie. If anyone can get the licenses, it's Illumination, or maybe, perhaps, it's Disney. Could Disney do it? I don't know. Are movie licenses harder to get than video game licenses because we've got all of these video game movies that are doing really well right now. Movies and shows, to include The Last of Us, a Super Mario Brothers movie, Sonic the Hedgehog did well. As more and more of these properties are sought after licenses, is it going to be harder to do something like a Smash Brothers movie? Or were those licenses, because they were kept tucked away and close to the breast by Nintendo, were those licenses harder to get a hold of? Would it have been harder to do a Smash Brothers movie then or now, is all I'm saying. I think now. I think now because people are realizing that comic book movies have blown up, obviously, but video game movies, shows are really just starting to hit their stride. And we've always said for a long time, there was this big glut of like, oh, video game movies are terrible. And it's because the people that were making video game movies were making them based on the license that they were given, but they were not fans. They were not gamers. Now we have a whole group of people that have grown up playing video games, making the movies. We've got a whole group of people growing up reading the comic books, making the movies. And so they're going to be the most passionate about them. They're going to know the most. They're going to have the most extensive knowledge set, and thus they're going to make the best movies. Even if you're a lackluster filmmaker, if you know and are passionate about the subject material, I think you could do pretty good. So anyway, Super Mario Brothers movie seems to be doing well. This video, this one that I'm recording now, will go up on Friday. I will have a new video out every Friday for you until I start doing podcasts on the regular. That's going to be coming at the end of May. if you are a Culture Jack podcast listener who's listened to that podcast before, that Anthony and I did, that I did solo, Anthony did solo for a while, it's coming back. I'm going to be doing the episodes. Anthony hasn't talked about his return yet, so maybe at some point he will. But he's doing very well on his own projects at the moment. So it'll just be me, and that's fine. If you just want to see my face, hear my voice, then stick around because there's going to be a lot of it. So that was that video. This is this video. This every week thing. What was I going to talk about? I was not just going to gloat about a prediction that I made but did not put out in time. Now I put it out on Monday. Now it looks like I'm a big hack and I made that video on Monday, but trust me, I made it on Friday. It was for Friday and it just got out late. No, I want to talk about role playing. I'm not talking about pretending I'm a naughty nurse or a musty maid. Is that sexy? Is that sexy? Is the musty maid sexy? No, my buddy Tom, he ordered this role playing game. It is the Dungeon Crawl Classics, and we didn't talk about it on the Culture Jack podcast, but a bunch of people talked about it. Talked about the drama with Wizards of the Coast and Dungeons and Dragons. Last year that happened, that went off, where was it last year or early this year? I think it was last year, where they had revised their licensing contract with people that have made Dungeons and Dragons their whole ass career, and they made it so they were going to be able to either take a very, very large percentage of the profits that were made from individual stories and campaigns and games that were made with the Dungeons and Dragons license, or be able to take those things wholesale without reimbursement or compensation to the authors of those things. So there was a huge uproar in the community, and eventually Wizards of the Coast walked it back. But there was, I think, as a result of that, a lot of people who went out to find alternatives to the massive game Dungeons and Dragons, and my buddy Tom was one of them. To this day he's still sour on the Dungeons and Dragons debacle, and I'm just getting into Dungeons and Dragons. So what is a poor boy like me to do? Where do I find myself? So anyway, he got this book. He funded a Kickstarter campaign with these guys. I think it's either a adventure set or some other expansion to this. But then he also got this book, which apparently was a replica or a duplicate book that he already had. Maybe he had it in. Maybe this makes triplicate for him. But he gave it to me. It was very nice. So shout out to Tom. Tom, if you see this video, thank you very, very much. I don't know if I'm going to necessarily get into that right away because I'm just learning Dungeons and Dragons. I got the Lost Mines of Phandelver, and I'm playing through that with my son, one of his friends, and his father. We're going through that. I guess I just wanted to today kind of comment about my experience as a DM in Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know all the rules, but I've always found the idea of Dungeons and Dragons very, very appealing. Like, community storytelling is something that I'm very dramatically interested in. Like, I feel like I can tell a good story on occasion. Not all the time, not all the time. Sometimes I do pretty bad at it. In fact, get a little bit tongue-tied, and some might say this is one of those times. But sometimes I can tell a pretty good story. But I like the idea of having a rule set based around a a a table of friends that are telling a story together, that introduce concepts and ideas and twists and turns that can then change the story in a dramatic and unexpected way. If I tell the story about a knight going to fight a dragon, that's one thing, and I can kind of plan ahead and I can think what to do. But when that knight gets enamored with a barmaid in a bar that him and his party frequent, and that barmaid happens to be a someone who maybe is adored also by a very jealous prince of a neighboring kingdom, then the whole story is turned on its head. Forget that dragon. We have a much more interesting love story that's taking place here. And so I think that's really cool. And I'm going to be doing more of that. Anyway, the game that I'm playing now currently, uh, spoilers for Lost Mines of Phandelver if anyone's played that before. But my son and his friend and the father, so I guess my friend is a fellow father, and we play games. And we're friends. We're friends. Why is it so hard for men to have friends? What's the deal with that? Like, get fellas, get some friends. It's important to have. So anyway, they went into the Red Knot Keep, I believe it's called. And it's been a while since we did any campaign. They went there and they were breaking some prisoners out that had been captured by, what are those people called? The Red Knaves? I don't remember what they are. The Red Cloaks, the Red Cloak Bandits. They were captured by them, and so in the process of breaking them out, my son's friend, he turncoat and like literally put on one of the cloaks and said that he'd captured these guys, and so the other two were put behind bars, and he marched away with one of his now fellow guards, I guess in the hopes of deceiving him. But what's so cool about that, just like the story, is I had no idea that was going to happen. Like none. Like I had it planned out. They're going to break out these prisoners. They're going to take out the guards. They're going to move on through the dungeon. But now I have a dynamic event that has happened that I have to figure out along with the help of the people playing with me. And I think that's really cool. I think that's really cool. I started the same campaign with my brother, his wife, my wife as well, and my son, who's playing the other campaign that's further ahead. He is helping me DM the thing, and so he's kind of the master of combat. We've called him, and so he organizes the combat. He explains what happens on missed rolls, on succeeding rolls. Um, it's a lot of fun. It's a new thing that I knew I would be into, but I just have not until now. And one of the reasons I have not is when I was young, there was this role playing game called Rifts. It's kind of like Dungeons and Dragons, but it had more sci-fi elements, I think. I don't know. I never really got a chance to play it because on the cover of the Rifts book that I had was a very scantily clad woman being attacked by a very ferocious looking monster. My mother saw that. And then, of course, this is back in the 90s, where there's a lot of people that are saying that, Dungeons and Dragons and games like it are the devil's work. So she took it. She said, you can't play that. As a result, though, and I think I have it up on the Culture Jack Instagram, maybe if you follow us over there. As a result, my friends, my brothers, and myself, we created our own role playing game. And so we made maps and we made weapons and we made monsters and all that stuff. And we played our own game, which was kind of dumb. I didn't know anything. I was just like, you get into a fight, you get into a fight, you get into a fight. And we played it like we were playing Final Fantasy VII, as opposed to like, these are the things you are presented with. What you have agency. What would you like to do? Are you going to talk your way out of it? You're going to run away? You're not just going to get into a fight. Anyway, that's what I came here to say. Oh, before I forget, I and this is the problem with uploading things is I get behind. I'm not on the time. I'm not trendy. I'm not in the zeitgeist, so to speak. And yes, this is the same thing I was wearing in the last video, but this shirt is new. This is just a sweater that I like to wear sometimes. So I'm not so dirty that I've been wearing the same thing for 4 days, 3 days max. I'm not so trendy, but I wanted to talk about one thing: daylight savings time. So this is it. Then I'll sign off for this video, and I'll see you again next week. Um, Daylight savings time happened, and every time there's a daylight savings time that happened, there's always a huge contingent of people going, we don't want daylight savings time anymore. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. It's not needed. It's an antiquated process that we used for farmers to save daylight in the past. And so, 314, who could that possibly be? Anyway, I don't know. I got to go take a phone call here. Let me just finish this thought and then I'll sign off and then take my phone call. So, daylight savings time in the past, the very first daylight savings time, we lost an hour. So we went from, we'll say, 2 to 3 o'clock. We moved the hour forward in the spring. And then in the fall, we got that hour back. We fell back. And so we went from 3 to 2. And this continued for years, obviously, for decades. And up until today, and the most recent call to remove daylight savings time, get rid of it. Where was I going with this? The most recent call to get rid of it would be in the spring. So this would be the last one, the spring forward, one more hour forward. And I will tell you, the proponents of this, why this is such a problem, why we need to end in the fall and not in the spring. And the reason is because if we do not reclaim that hour in the fall, it's going to be gone forever. Forever, we will be missing 1 hour of our lives, of our history. I don't like that, and neither should you. This has been a Culture Jack podcast video. If you really like this video, if you're interested in seeing more, be sure to subscribe. If you're watching this and it's past the end of May, we have new podcast episodes out. If it's before the end of May, they're coming. So if you're a fan, by God, we got more stuff coming out. But be sure to leave me a comment if you want to talk about daylight savings time. Look, I wrote it down. That's my topic for today. Or you want to talk a little bit about D&D or how well or well not movies are doing. I'm always interested to talk to you. So anyway, I hope your week was great. I hope your weekend is even better. Cheers.